So one of the things a horseman does that's different than maybe what a cowboy does or so many other people do is they recognize that it's going to take some time, not days, not months, but even years to get this animal to the place that it's doing the things, even anticipating the things that you've trained it to do. Now see, I think we live in a country, in an environment, in a culture nowadays that wants everything really quick. And in the long run, it doesn't help your organization, your business, become sustainable. When you're trying to go through things really quickly instead of building it up, you end up with an organization that isn't sustainable. It doesn't last. See, I think of cowboys often like entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur, but there's much more to being an entrepreneur than just birthing a business and seeing it get its legs underneath itself, the excitement of creating something and watching it go. There's much more to it than that. The long-term management, the building up of people, the sustainability, the legacy that you live, the difference that you make, all of those things take time. And see, with a horse, you can't rush into it. See, when you start a horse, when you walk into the pen for the very first time with a young horse, you've got this 1,100-pound muscle in front of you that's just going, you know what, you are not getting on me. That is not happening. And as time goes, you realize that you have to go slow and gentle. You have to find the way the horse communicates. You have to duplicate that language back to them. Now see, we use progression in our technique in helping communicate with horses. Now all of you, if you've watched a television show, you've seen a horse with a bit in its mouth. Well, it starts out typically with a real soft, gentle bit with a young horse. It's usually a snaffle bit. It's a small, lightweight piece of metal that bends in the middle or is just hinged in the middle. And then we move from that to what I have here in my hand, which is what's called a bosel. Now, as a horse starts to mature, their teeth start to erupt in their mouth, just like they do with us as humans, and their mouth becomes tender. And in those years, we switch over to a bosel so that this simple piece of rawhide, it's braided rawhide, goes over their nose. We have a set of reins. These reins happen to be made of horsehair, actually horse's mane. That's the hair that goes down its neck. This is actually hair that's braided together. Notice it's kind of prickly, okay? And we ride for a while with this over their nose, and then as we move them into the more mature things, we put a bit in their mouth that ultimately is the bit that they'll use, most likely for the rest of their years with a human being. But there's a stage in between there, we call it two reins, where we actually keep the bosel on and then put that bit, often a spade bit, into their mouth, and the bosel slips over their nose, and we use both the reins of the spade bit and the bosel for a transition. See? And it's not much different than mentoring a young person or bringing up a new employee or in getting your customers to understand how you go to market. You start gently, you move forward, you have a time where there's a transition, and then you bring them in to the maturity. Now think about that. If you took the time, by the way, with a horse, it takes anywhere between 3 to 5 years to do that. That's right, 3 to 5 years. Now if you took the time with your staff, with your customers, with your marketing efforts, with your vendors, can you imagine how loyal they would be to you? Can you imagine how they would want to perform? Can you imagine how well they'd understand your business? Can you imagine how well they know their job?